Welcome to The Perfect Balance, where this is the podcast where we discover your symptoms are not the problem, with your hosts, Eva Vennari, Dr. Heather Neal, and Leslie Brown. Join us as we jump right into this episode. All right, welcome in. This is the Perfect Balance podcast, and we're going to be talking about the holistic healing using mineral balancing science. My name is Eva Vennari out of Los Angeles, and I'm founder of the Elevate Institute.
And I'm Heather Neal. I run a school that offers mineral balancing certificate programs.
Now, I'm Leslie Brown, and my specialty, my focus area is stress relief for high-achieving men who want to sustain peak performance. Founder and CEO.
And we collectively, God, I haven't even done the math. I've been doing mineral balancing science for 14 years. What Heather, you're over 25 years?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Just about 10 for me.
Okay, yeah. So collectively, we thought, we need to talk to people about what mineral balancing science is. We know what it is. We take it for granted every day, but it's changed our lives. And we want to share with, well, why? How come? What's the big deal?
Right.
And why is it a big secret? So yeah, what makes mineral balancing science different? What is the thing that you've discovered is the key that's much different in the way that we have to think about healing and health?
Mm-hmm. The key is not to chase symptoms. That is probably the number. I see it in medical and I see it in alternative health. And we're still chasing symptoms. You go in, you're tired. And what's the first thing they think of? Something to not make you tired, but you might be tired because your thyroid's not working well, your adrenals are not working well. And what it comes down to is Dr. Paul Eck. He was the founder and biochemist of mineral balancing science. And it's been over 50 years now. And so we have a tool that helps us know what minerals your body needs, and that helps to improve your energy. Is it going to get rid of your symptoms? Eventually. And sometimes some people it's quicker, sometimes it's slower. There were certain symptoms I wanted to go away like immediately that did not. But in the long run, they did. And so I have more energy now in my 50s than I did when I was a teenager. So that should tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie, what is it for you?
Yeah, I was thinking, if I were just like listening to us hanging around, like kind of like we are right now, really, but I would just introduce people to mineral balancing. It saved each one of our lives. And it was such a change in perspective. It was really a paradigm shift from like what Heather said. Instead of chasing symptoms, we were trying to look at really what the body needs. Understanding the body can heal itself if it has the raw materials it needs to do that. And minerals are those raw materials. And that's what Dr. Eck found out. I'd heard it spoken of as the missing piece of the nutritional puzzle. And I probably even broaden that to say it's the missing piece of our whole lives, keeping our health and wellness, keeping us mentally, physically, spiritually in peak performance, or at least working towards getting there as it works its magic. So it's been really powerful. I made a big switch, and my paradigm switch was I knew my body didn't need more medicine. It needed more minerals. And my goodness, after being in treatment of different kind for 40 years, within 3 months, everything started to turn around. So the power of it can't even be overestimated or overbragged about.
No, I know. It's been, like you said, it saved my life too. I was obsessed with insomnia at 3 o'clock in the morning with a search string of about 30 different symptoms put into Google. And at that time, it wasn't as helpful as it is today. So you had to do a lot of searching.
Yeah.
There was none of this. Oh, did you mean? No. You had to find the keywords, which most people weren't using at the time. And you just had to search for the information if you wanted something outside of medicine. But I would say that the short and skinny of it is mineral balancing is the science of relationships between minerals in the body. Mm-hmm. And how well they meet the needs of each other, just the same way as we do in any other relationship. It's very beautiful the way that it correlates, between our living world around us, and that makes sense to me, and how the body actually does heal. It has everything to do with its relationships inside the body, what's going on, what's creating the environment. Because, you know, like Heather, you said it best, is we chase symptoms. And if we're chasing a symptom that really isn't the problem right now in this red hot minute, the body is just going to sit there and go, well, dummy, you're not giving me what I need.
Exactly. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up with the relationships, because I go to a lot of talks. I don't know if you two do, but I'm always going to different talks, learning different things, you know, seeing what's out there. And whenever I leave, I might get a nugget, I might get something small, but I always think, how come nobody has figured? I mean, Pollock was so ahead of the times. I mean, you know, yes, there's these supplements we get asked all the time. This supplement's great. This supplement's great. They're good supplements, but are they balancing your body chemistry? Are they doing what we want them to do? And that's what Dr. Pollock used to talk about. He said, you know, all these different supplements can start interacting with each other. Just taking extra magnesium could mess up your whole program. And I don't think people realize that. And it's a hard call, you know, when you're finding out. Go ahead, Eva.
No, you bring up the great point. I see this in the news all the time. You've got some person who is on the outside of mineral balancing science, acting like they know the details of it, saying zinc is great for you and this is why you should take it, or magnesium is great for you and this is why you should take it. And then at the end of it, they say something like, this is why vitamins don't work. Well, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
They do the same thing.
Go ahead. What was that, Leslie?
I was just adding, they do the same thing on copper. And I wanted to say something about that point on relationships. I'm doing 3 different vegetable gardens this year with different kinds of treating the ground in 3 different ways. So I'm involved in listening to a lot of farmers and people who are interested in home vegetable gardens. And I notice they're all understanding that tomatoes need a lot of calcium. And they're used to feeding all sorts of fertilizers and trying to see what exactly is in the fertilizer, and is it 10-10-20, or what the relationship is. But so far they're having I don't want to say they're having a hard time. What I want to say is the missing link there is, if they can now just adapt that, that's something they know and are familiar with, but understand their body works in the same way. And if we can't draw those minerals from the food, then all sorts of bad stuff happens, as we well know. But that relationship that they're so concerned about with the soil is the same thing they need to be concerned about when feeding their own internal terrain or soil. So I just wanted to add that. But you were going to say something, Heather. Was there something you wanted to add about the zinc? Or
Oh, no, I was just thinking how many people have gotten a hold of me over the last few years with, you know, with what was, you know, our lovely virus. But a lot of people were taking tons and tons of
that
zinc.
Should not be named.
Yeah, you saw how I went over that. Okay, so anyways, you know, some people were taking, I saw recommendations of zinc from like 80 to 120 milligrams a day, and people kept taking. Well, they did feel good in the beginning, of course they did, because their body might be depleted, and zinc's easily depleted by stress daily. And then they don't get that same reaction. So they keep thinking, take more and more and more. But what they don't realize is that's actually backwards. You know, it's counterintuitive a little bit, I think, with mineral balancing. Don't you think?
I do.
Yeah.
So one of the very first things I love to see, I was looking for a test result that I had in front of me. Maybe one of you have one to hold it up, but it's so funny. The very first time somebody goes through a mineral test, I used to share it ahead of time, but then they thought they knew something based on medicine and reading blood tests, right? You know what's coming. So they would look at the potassium and go, oh, that's really low. I'm going to go grab a banana. I'll actually preempt them and put the test on the screen and say, and now don't grab a banana, go put it down, because the potassium, it's not about what's low and what's high and what's lacking. Yeah, it's all about the relationships there. Yeah, there it is. That's our heart and soul of our business. It's just a single page, and we make sense of that.
Yeah.
And it tells you so much.
Yeah.
There's really a lot when you know how to read it. One of the things I run into is people looking and say, oh, I don't have any toxic metals.
I know.
It's right. And it's that counterintuitive perspective again, because we're measuring in the hair tests what the body's eliminating. So if you're not eliminating toxic metals, that means you're storing them. And
Right.
that's a big concept. That's another counterintuitive but important concept for people to understand.
No, exactly.
Leave the
I-
bananas alone. Yes, you're toxic.
Well, and let's
Yeah.
dispel the myth that bananas are good for you right here and right now. Let's make it official.
Okay.
It would take, and I read this once, it would take 28, I think, bananas in a day in order to get the potassium that the body needs and that we actually normally get from vegetables and protein. And the amount of all of that sugar, the fructose that's in bananas, it just basically you have a choice. You can detox and heal, or you can deal with the hot mess of bananas you just gave it.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that the truth of the whole program? Isn't that everything? It's like, okay, you can make choices. You can either do something to help your body heal, or you can set it back a minute and make it overcome it, and then go take a nap.
Yeah. Although I have to
Exactly.
say, banana
Yeah.
peels are really good for the vegetable garden. Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's the way to use it.
That's right.
Well, that brings up another topic that we go to
Yeah.
is that, trying to balance your minerals with just food alone. And you just talked about
Yeah.
how many bananas it would take. They've done studies. Can't remember the name of it. Shoot, I should have looked at that today, but it was a 20-year study, 20 or 30-year study to look it up. But they tested all of the fruits and vegetables they wanted to test for vitamins and minerals. And then they did it again, I think it was 30 years later. And the difference was very sad, actually, how many things were depleted. And I mean, some of them were 80% less in some of these minerals. And that was almost 20 years ago, still. So imagine if they did it again, what are we getting from our foods? I mean, I love to eat, don't get me wrong. I love food.
Well, we were talking about this very thing in elementary when I was in elementary school, and that was for 40, I'm stumbling for over 40 years ago. So we are there was a conversation about exactly that big study. Now they do it more frequently because they have noticed that the results are exponentially less and less every time they test. And it's funny, it's to me, not funny, haha, funny, strange, that the very things that we are out of balance on that create these environments within us basically created our job security, because the things that are missing in our soil are the things that are missing in our foods, in our bodies. So when we do a hair test, we're actually seeing the results of what's not in the soil. Like we could bypass the body altogether and just, that's it. This is what's going on. This is what's missing.
Right.
Yeah.
Chromium and selenium. How many times do you see that in good range? I mean,
Never.
never.
Not until
Why? Because it's low in
Yeah.
our soil. So there we go.
Well, let's talk about how we keep on top of this. So you do the initial test. You showed us an example of one, but is this and I know the answer. I'm being rhetorical. It's not a Ron Popeil set it and forget it rotisserie machine. This is an ongoing it's an ongoing effort. So let's talk about what it means to be on the program, and how often we should test.
So we did a hair analysis. I don't know if we mentioned that test was a hair tissue mineral analysis. So we send that into the lab, and it tells us about a 3-month period. It's like a metabolic blueprint of about 3 months of what's been going on in your body. And it tells us really how your body's handling stress and how do we improve that. And we want you to do it, hopefully, for the rest of your life, really. Because we want balancing your minerals is something that, I mean, with our environment and everything else that's going on, it would be nice to feel good and to have energy the rest of our lives. I mean, I've been on this program for 20 plus years, and I continue to get my hair test every 4 months. There was a couple times I didn't, and I regretted it. Oh yeah, I went 6 months one time, and I thought I knew better. I'm sure, I don't know. I just thought I knew better. I was like, oh, well, it's probably just copper or, something. So I kind of ignored it and was just letting it go. And I think it was a little over 6 months. So I'm not going to admit any more than that. And so when I just kept, balancing, trying to think I could do it, and figured it out with the supplements. And so I finally got a retest, and it wasn't copper. My program had changed. My NAK ratio changed, something else. It was I needed a new program. And so I didn't stay on top of it. So I always think of what I tell people, it's like getting off the freeway on the wrong exit. You bypassed where you were supposed to get off. You went off on the wrong exit. So now you have to turn around and get off on the correct exit. You wasted time. So that's how I think of it now. And I just feel I'm a learning experiment myself.
Oh, it's lifelong, really, isn't it? It's lifelong. We do ours probably every quarter. We do that just to stay on top of it. Sometimes they say people aren't really having big swings and symptoms, that every 6 months will do, which a lot of people like to settle into. But I like quarterly pretty much for the same reason you were saying, Heather, is it stays on top of the changes that are happening in the body chemistry, and then the supplements and foods could be changed accordingly to give your body what it needs at that point in time. And it's easy to make assumptions once we've been in it for a while, and then you realize it's really not wise to make assumptions because things look different than what they really are. So that's what I love about the testing personally, is that it's regular, concrete feedback and communication with the body. And it lets us know exactly what it needs. So that's our frequency and what I really like about it.
Yeah, I like to say it takes the supplement roulette and stops it.
Good phrase. Yeah.
Because, between Sally Sue, who is, your cousin or whatever, coming Thanksgiving dinner and telling you all excitedly about her great new supplement that she found that you should take too, and all the media out there saying this is good for anybody over a certain age, I don't know. They don't know. Yeah. So it's this is where the science is. This is not tarot card reading, which I do that too, and I'm not blowing that out of the water. It's very useful as a tool, but you don't want to use it for the purposes of this type of program. And I too tested it. So after 3 years of reversing, I reversed my burnout, my adrenal burnout. I then stopped the program altogether. Didn't even do a maintenance schedule for a full year.
Wow.
And
I know we were waiting for what's the
story.
Yeah. And okay, so you do have some long lasting effects where it didn't get as bad as it was. I was still functional, but I got to a point in time where I realized I better get back on this horse. And I haven't gone off of it, other than to allow for a major healing reaction like I did just recently. And anyways, yeah, we'll have a whole show about healing reactions and why they're so scary to people who've never been through them before. But then the confidence that you get in the body's ability to overcome just about anything. Like I can't remember a moment when I was scared of COVID.
Right. Yeah, when you have that, you have you have that the program, so you're already taken care of.
Yeah.
I didn't answer your question on how long. I did periodic testing, but we're all on the same page on this also. It really is lifelong, because we're talking about, which we'll probably have separate shows on this too, but electromagnetic frequencies. We are bombarded with things that make our cells go into chaos. We've got thousands of chemicals in the food, air, and water that breach our immune system and cause issues there. So I look at it as minerals are really important to fighting these invisible invaders and to maintaining our defense system from them, as well as allowing our bodies to heal in ways that we didn't even know. We're like that frog in the kettle, that worn out story, but you stay in there and slowly boil to death, and you have no idea. But throw the frog into the hot water, oh my goodness, you just have no idea how much better you can feel.
Yeah.
Once you start with the mineral balancing.
Yeah, and that's how we get sick. We get sick slowly. Well, most people. I know I did. I just got used to the symptoms. I was like, okay, I've always been sick. I was always sick. I grew up sick. I watched people go trick or treat, and I had to stay in the house. I was just always sick. So I was used to it. So as I got older, I was getting sicker, but I just maintained. I found things to help the symptoms. I got medications. I just went from thing to thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's how life's supposed to be. Sorry.
Right. No problem. You're saying the same thing I'm going to say. I think is that we just get used to that. We're ingrained with that idea. We're taught by people who love us or are supposed to love us that this is the way that you do it. You have a complaint, a problem, your world is not what it should be in what's called normal, and you have an itch, you have a pain, you have a headache, you have a whatever, an infection. And so what do? You take it to your primary care physician, and they run your blood, and they tell you either, oh, you've got this problem and here's a medication, or it's all in your head. So neither one of them actually solve the problem. It just gives you that, it can give you a relief of some kind. Right.
Mhm.
But it doesn't solve the problem. And so finding something that solves the problem, I can't tell you how many people that have never heard of mineral balancing science. They think it's like witchcraft or something. Like, no.
Something to do with silver and gold.
Right. We'll have to do a talk on how we found it. That should be another talk.
Be a good
Because,
one.
because I think that'd be a really good one.
Well, I want to invite those who are listening in, is that if you have, and right in the descriptions and in the comments below, what would you like to know about? What common, especially chronic illness, have you been dealing with that medicine hasn't helped? What would you like to know about healing the body, and what we can get done with mineral balancing science? I mean, well, we have plenty to talk about. I can show you my list of, like, we can keep it going, but I would love to see what the comments are on this. If this provided a little bit of insight so far, I think that would be great.
I think we're at our end of our 30 minutes, pretty close.
Yeah, we'll wrap this one up, and let's see.
While Eva's looking, please do put down comments, because we'd love, what's most important to us is to speak to what's important to you, because we can talk about this forever, and sometimes do amongst ourselves.
Right.
I'll be on the phone with either one of you two, and an hour's gone by, and we should hang up. Half hour later goes by, we should hang up. And yes, that's true. So we can talk an awful lot about all this. So I just want to, let's sign off. We'll complete this one, and then we'll see you on the next one. My name is Eva Vennari with the Elevate Institute, and
I'm Heather Neal. I'm with Global Nutritional Healing.
Leslie Brown, and the name of the business is the Mineral Balancing Group.
Yay. And we are going to make sure that you're aware your symptoms are not the problem. So see you next time.